and sung by our vocalist, Mathilde Prosen-Oldani. Nana is my favorite anime, and I love the way it portrays complex relationships, and I love the rock musician emo alt aesthetic of the show, so it was super fun to arrange like a rock music thing for a jazz orchestra. while keeping it emo. Thank you.
So, our next tune comes from the game Brutal Orchestra, composed by Publio Delgado. It's a really weird game. You die in the very beginning, and then you spend the rest of the game traversing through your own mind with a demon or something. It's something. And this song plays as you're fighting a bunch of musical instruments made out of flesh. So different from the rest of the soundtrack though. This one is just straight up a jazz tune on there. It has solos and stuff. It's just a jazz tune. So for our solos, we have Kenechukwu, Zach, Alan, and myself. Here is Feel the Rhythm, arranged by me.
starting to feel the rhythm, if you know what I'm saying. And we hope that you all are too. We're going to keep things upbeat with our next tune. It's a bombastic big band jazz rock based by range, written by official Gaiden vocalist Fujihara. It's pretty tricky to arrange for such a small combo because of its big band nature, but it's a joy to listen to and play, so I figured we had to do it at some point. So, without further ado, here's the first opening from Spy Family, Mixed Nuts. So let's take a moment to introduce our amazing rhythm section. So, on drums loading on the floor is Moyo Akoma over here. Driving our tempos on bass is Samyukta Athreya. On guitar with some rock and riffs is Johnny Zhang. And filling out our chords is Vuyani Saige. So, our next tune was arranged by Prosen-Oldani, better known as Insane in the Rain. It's a fusion funk version of the battle theme from one of the most popular and stylish JRPGs out there, Persona 5, composed by Shoji Meguro and Benjamin Franklin, no relation. With solos by Shima, Ellen, myself, Elina, and Johnny, here is Last Surprise.
again and again, my friend. You'll never see it over. You'll see that my mind is too far for us. Tell me what to do. Can't you be time for you? Now my time is so far, so far. Stop me. What you do? Can't you be time?
Let's give another round of applause for Mathilde, our vocalist and our soloist. Our next piece comes from the legendary Studio Ghibli film Howl's Moving Castle, composed by Joe and Saige. The main theme contains a lot of interconnected moving parts and a very distinct melody that I found really important to recapture in this arrangement. So, let's take a ride on the merry-go-round of life. So the last two tunes featured our killer horn section one. So let's take some time to introduce them. So there's myself on trumpet, Kenechukwu Echezona. On switching to alto saxophone and also playing soprano is Elina Lee. On tenor saxophone is Zachary Smentek. On baritone saxophone we have Alan Zhu. Nice. And on a non-traditional horn we have Shima McClure-Auburn. And in fact, our next arrangement was arranged by Shima, so if you want to come up and give us a few words about that.
Hello, gang. So, my background is not in jazz. I started as a folk musician and now I'm a classical composer. So, as a folk musician, I was exposed to some hot modes you might not have heard of, more than the two that we typically use. And my favorite is Phrygian. And I use it in all of my stuff. And I learned it in klezmer. And now we have a song from Fire Emblem that is in Phrygian. And it's the best song from Fire Emblem because it's in Phrygian. And I arranged it for us to play because it's my favorite.
before we wrap up this afternoon/night, whatever 6:30 is to you guys, a few things are in order because without these parties, what you're seeing up here would just not be possible. So, thanks to the ScottyCon team for having us here tonight. Big round of applause for them. Special thanks to Gaiden for working so hard and scheduling stuff. I really appreciate it. My lovely officer team, Vuyani, Johnny, Jasper, Camille. I rhymed there a little bit. Vuyani, Johnny, Jasper, and Camille for helping us out. Our in-house arrangers, Sam, Shima, and Vuyani. AB Tech for all your work. We really appreciate, not just for ours, but for all the performances that are happening today you're helping out with. Thank you so much for that. And last but certainly not least is you, the audience, for coming out tonight and supporting live jazz. This would not be possible without you guys. Give yourself a round of applause for that. And now, jazz.
You like jazz?
Alrighty, so with that, we're presenting our final tune, Supersonic Style, to Saturn and Back, my own arrangement. So, thank you all for coming out to ScottyCon 2025.
Feel so high, the bad times pass me by. 'Cause today is gonna be a brighter day. Can you feel the sunshine? There's a light up your day. Don't you feel like sometimes you just need to run away? Don't you feel the sunshine? Forget about the rain.
So much for coming out tonight. We've been the CMU Jazz Club. If you want to join us, we host jam sessions every Saturday upstairs in CUC 303 from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., as well as live jams at Stacked Underground every other Tuesday. Not this coming Tuesday, but the Tuesday after. So, yeah, thank you all for coming out to ScottyCon.